If you've ever lived in a small American town, you know there's always that one place people don't talk about directly, but everyone knows about. In the town of Marlowe, Oregon, that place was Briarwood Park. Briarwood wasn't huge. It had a baseball field with rusty bleachers, a small wooden playground built in the late 90s, a pond with a crooked dock, and a walking trail that looped into a dense patch of trees locals simply called the woods. It looked harmless, peaceful even. But it had one rule posted on a wooden sign at the entrance. Park closes at sunset, no exceptions. Most parks say that. Most people ignore it. In Marlowe, no one did. I moved to Marlowe the summer after my freshman year of college. My uncle had passed away and left my mom his small house. It was old, with chipped white paint and a sagging porch, but it was ours now. To save money, I stayed there for the summer and picked up shifts at the local grocery store. Briarwood Park was a 5-minute walk from the house. The first time I went there, it was late afternoon. Kids were playing on the swings, a couple of dads were throwing a football near the baseball field, and 2 teenage girls were filming something for social media by the pond. It felt normal. Too normal. Around 8:30 p.m., the sun dipped lower, turning everything gold. One by one, people started packing up. By 8:45, the park was nearly empty. At 8:50, an older man in a green maintenance jacket walked through the grounds, not saying anything, just watching. When he passed me on the bench near the dock, he stopped. "You new in town?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "Just for the summer." He nodded toward the sky. "You should head out. It's not dark yet." "It doesn't have to be." Something in his tone made my stomach tighten. I left. But as I reached the street, I glanced back. The man in the green jacket was staring toward the tree line. And for a split second, I thought I saw someone standing just inside the woods, watching him. Every town has a story. In Marlowe, it was Lucas Green. In 2003, Lucas was 8 years old. He had been playing at Briarwood Park with his older sister. She left him at the playground to use the restroom by the baseball field. She was gone less than 5 minutes. When she came back, he was gone. Police searched the woods. Divers dragged the pond. Helicopters scanned the surrounding fields. Nothing. No footprints. No signs of struggle. It was as if he'd simply stepped out of the world. The official case remained open for years before going cold. But locals had their own version. Some said Lucas had wandered into the woods and gotten lost. Others said someone took him. And then there were the quieter voices, the ones that said Lucas never left the park at all. I didn't believe in ghost stories, but I believed in curiosity. A week after I moved in, I decided to test the sunset rule. At 8:40 p.m., I sat on the dock, legs dangling over the still water. The sky turned deep orange. The air cooled quickly. By 8:50, the park was empty. At 8:55, I heard footsteps crunching on gravel behind me. I turned. No one. The path was empty. I told myself it was just nerves. At 9 p.m., the sun disappeared completely. The shift was immediate. The air felt heavier. The woods looked darker than they should have been, like the shadows inside them weren't natural, like they absorbed light instead of just lacking it. I stood up. That's when I heard it. A child laughing. Soft. Close. It came from the direction of the playground. I froze. The swings were moving. Not wildly, not dramatically. Just a slow, steady sway. Back and forth. There was no wind. I stepped off the dock and walked slowly toward them. "Hello?" I called. The laughter stopped. One swing continued moving. As I got closer, I noticed something that made my throat go dry. The wood chips under that swing were disturbed. Fresh. As if someone had been dragging their feet. "Lucas?" I said before I could stop myself. The swing stopped instantly. Dead still. Behind me, I heard running. Not toward me. Around me. Circling. Fast. Light footsteps like a child sprinting in wide loops. I spun around, trying to catch sight of whoever it was. Nothing. But the footsteps didn't stop. They kept circling. faster. And then, they stopped directly behind me. I didn't want to turn around. I knew somehow that if I did, I'd see something I couldn't forget. Instead, I ran. I didn't look back until I reached the park entrance. And when I did, I saw a small figure standing near the swings, just standing there, watching me leave. The next day, I went back in the afternoon. The man in the green jacket was repairing a broken bench near the baseball field. "Why does everyone leave before sunset?" I asked bluntly. He didn't look up. "You stayed, didn't you?" My heart skipped. "How did you know?" He tightened a bolt. "People who stay always look the same the next day." "And how's that?" "Like they didn't sleep." I swallowed. "Have you seen anything?" He paused. Then quietly, "I've worked here since before Lucas disappeared." That got my attention. "You think he's still here?" The man finally looked at me. His eyes were tired. "I think something is." A long silence stretched between us. "Sometimes," he continued, "after sunset, you'll see a kid near the playground. Sometimes by the woods, sometimes by the pond." "That's him?" He shook his head slowly. "That's the problem. It doesn't always look the same." 2 nights later, I went back again. This time, I wasn't alone. My coworker Jenna thought the whole thing was hilarious. "It's probably raccoons," she said. We brought flashlights. At 8:55 p.m., we stood near the edge of the woods. "Ready?" She grinned. At 9 o'clock, darkness settled in. The woods felt wrong immediately. Not quiet. Muted. As if sound itself was being swallowed. We stepped inside. The beam of my flashlight cut through branches and tangled undergrowth. Then Jenna grabbed my arm. "Do you hear that?" A voice. Soft. Calling from deeper in the trees. "Help." It was faint. Childlike. Jenna whispered, "Is that a recording?" The voice came again. "Help me." It sounded closer. We moved toward it. Branch by branch. Step by step. The voice led us deeper. Until we reached a small clearing. In the center stood a single tree with a low, thick branch. Something hung from it. Not a rope. Not an object. A shadow. Darker than everything around it. It swayed gently, even though the air was still. "Do you see that?" Jenna whispered. "Yes." The voice came again. But this time, it didn't come from ahead of us. It came from behind, right in our ears. "Stay!" Jenna screamed. The flashlights flickered, and in that split second of dim light, I saw them. Multiple small shapes between the trees. Not just one child. Dozens. Standing unnaturally still. Watching. The lights went out completely. We ran blindly, crashing through branches, not caring about direction. When we burst out of the woods, we were near the pond. The dock creaked. Something was standing at the end of it. Small. Silhouetted. "Why are you leaving?" it asked. But the voice wasn't sad. It was layered, as if many voices were speaking at once. Jenna pulled me toward the exit. We didn't stop running until we were blocks away. The next morning, I went back alone during daylight. I stood at the edge of the woods, staring at that same clearing. There were no marks, no footprints. But something felt different. Heavier, like the ground itself remembered. That's when I understood something no one in town wanted to say out loud. Maybe Lucas Green wasn't the first. Maybe he wasn't the only one. Maybe Briarwood Park didn't just keep children. Maybe it collected them. Every laugh heard after sunset. Every small shadow between the trees. Every set of footsteps circling in the dark. Not one. Many. Still playing. Still calling. Still waiting for someone to stay just a little longer. I left Marlowe before the summer ended. But sometimes, late at night, I'll scroll through community pages online. Every few years, there's a post. A parent asking if anyone has seen their child. Last seen at Briarwood Park, right before sunset. And every time I check the comments, because someone always replies with the same sentence. Search the woods before it gets dark. They never do, and the park still closes at sunset. No exceptions. Meera Joshi had always loved old parks. Not the bright, crowded ones with food stalls and laughing children, but the quiet ones. The kind where the swings creaked even without wind, and the benches were chipped by decades of rain. When she shifted to the small town of Briarwood for her new teaching job, the first place she noticed was Shantivan Park. It stood at the edge of town, surrounded by tall banyan trees whose roots hung like skeletal fingers. A rusted iron gate marked the entrance, and a fading board read, Shantivan Park, open from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. There was something odd about that timing. Even in winter, 6 p.m. felt too early to shut a public park. But Meera didn't think much of it at first. Her rented house was just across the narrow road from the park. From her bedroom window, she could see the swings, the circular walking path, and a stone fountain in the center that no longer worked. Every evening, she watched families leave before sunset, almost in a hurry. By 5:45 p.m., the park would begin to empty unnaturally fast. By 6 p.m., it would be completely deserted. And by 6:05 p.m., the watchman would lock the gate from outside and leave. No one stayed late. No one even tried. On her fourth day in Briarwood, Meera decided to take an evening walk inside the park. School had been tiring, and she wanted fresh air. It was 5:15 p.m. when she entered. Children were playing tag. An old couple walked slowly around the path. A teenage boy sat on the bench near the fountain, staring at his phone. The air felt unusually cool. As she walked, she noticed something strange. There were no birds, not a single chirp. The banyan trees were silent. At 5:40 p.m., a mother called out sharply to her son. "Rohan, come now, it's getting late." The boy protested. "But it's not even dark." "Now," she insisted. One by one, families started leaving. At 5:50 p.m., Meera sat on a bench near the swings. The teenage boy from earlier walked past her, head down. As he passed, he muttered something under his breath. She almost didn't hear it. "Don't stay after 6. Meera turned. "What?" But he was already walking fast toward the gate. By 5:57 p.m., the park was empty except for her. The sky was still orange. There was at least half an hour before darkness. The watchman, an old man with deep-set eyes and a gray beard, walked toward her. "Madam," he said gently, "park is closing." "So early?" she asked. "It's not even dark yet." He didn't smile. "We close at 6. She stood up. "Is there some rule, or?" He looked toward the banyan trees, then back at her. "Just better to leave." There was something in his voice, not irritation, not authority. Fear. That night, Meera couldn't sleep. Around 12:30 a.m., she woke to a strange sound. A faint metallic creaking. Slow. Rhythmic. She sat up in bed. Creak, creak. It was coming from outside. Her window faced the park. Her heart began to pound. There was no wind. The night was still. She slowly pulled back the curtain. The park was dark except for one dim streetlight near the fountain. And beneath it, the swing, moving, back and forth, back and forth. No one was on it, or at least, that's what she thought. She squinted. As the swing moved forward, it entered the faint circle of yellow light, and she saw it, a small shape, like a child, sitting perfectly upright, hair hanging over its face. Her breath caught in her throat. She blinked. The streetlight flickered, and the swing was empty. It had stopped moving, dead still. Meera stepped back from the window. "Imagination," she whispered to herself. But deep down, she knew what she saw. The next morning at school, Meera casually asked one of her colleagues about Shantivan Park. "Why does it close so early?" The teacher stiffened slightly. "Old incident," she said. "What incident?" She hesitated, then lowered her voice. About 10 years ago, a boy went missing there. Arav. He was 6. Mira's stomach tightened. What happened? He was playing near the swings. His mother was talking to someone. When she looked back, he was gone. No one saw anything? They searched the entire park, drained the fountain, even cut down part of the bushes. And they never found him. A silence hung between them. After that, the teacher continued. Strange things started happening. People said they saw a child near the swings after sunset. Some heard laughter. Others heard crying. Mira's fingers trembled slightly. The town council decided to close the park at 6, just in case. Just in case what? Mira asked. The teacher looked at her directly. Just in case he never left. Mira tried to ignore it. She truly did. But curiosity can be stronger than fear. At 5:55 p.m. that evening, she deliberately stayed inside the park. The watchman approached her again. Madam, please. I just want to sit for 5 more minutes, she said calmly. He stared at her for a long moment. Then he did something unexpected. He didn't argue. He left. And at exactly 6 p.m., he locked the gate. From outside, leaving her inside. Her heart skipped. She ran toward the gate. Hey, I'm still here! But he was already walking away. She shook the gate. It was locked. The park was silent. The sky dimmed rapidly, as if someone had turned down the brightness of the world. The air grew cold. Then, creak. The swing. She turned slowly. It was moving. Empty. Or was it? This time she forced herself to walk closer. Step by step. The swing moved gently, as if someone invisible pushed it. Hello? She called softly. No answer. And she heard it. A whisper. Didi. Her blood froze. The voice came from behind her. She turned. A small boy stood near the fountain. He wore a blue t-shirt and shorts. His face was pale. His eyes were too dark. Are you lost? She whispered. He tilted his head unnaturally. I can't go home. Her throat went dry. Where is your home? He pointed toward the banyan trees. There. The roots swayed slightly, but there was no wind. She stepped back. You're Arav, aren't you? He smiled. Too wide. I waited. For what? She asked, barely breathing. For someone to stay. The temperature dropped suddenly. The park seemed larger, the shadows deeper. The boy began walking toward her, but his feet didn't quite touch the ground. You shouldn't be here after dark, he said softly. You shouldn't have stayed. The swings behind her began moving violently. All of them. At once. The fountain started gurgling, though it had no water. The banyan roots twisted like living things. Mira ran toward the gate, screaming. The boy's voice followed her. Stay with me. She reached the gate and shook it desperately. Open it, please. Suddenly, the lock clicked. The gate creaked open. She stumbled out onto the road. Behind her, the park went silent. She turned. The boy stood just inside the gate. He looked sad. You're leaving too, he whispered. The gate slammed shut by itself, and he was gone. The next morning, Mira went to the police station. She asked to see the file on Arav. The officer hesitated, then allowed her. She flipped through the papers. Missing. Arav Sharma. Age, 6. Last seen, 5:52 p.m. Location near banyan trees. Cause, unknown. But something else caught her eye. A note added 3 days after the disappearance. Witness report. Watchman claims boy was last seen near gate at 6:03 p.m. 6:03 p.m. After closing time, she felt a chill. That evening, she didn't go to the park. Instead, she watched from her window. At exactly 6:02 p.m., the swing began moving. And this time, she saw him clearly. sitting there, alone, waiting. A week later, Mira resigned from her job. The night before she left Bairavpur, she stood at her window one last time. The park was quiet. The streetlight flickered. The swing moved gently, and the small figure turned toward her house. Even from that distance, she could feel it. His eyes were fixed on her, not angry, not evil, just endless, lonely. As she closed the curtain, she heard it faintly through the glass. Come back. She never did. But the park still closes at 6. And if you ever visit Bairavpur, leave before dusk, because some parks aren't meant to be open after dark, and some children are still waiting.